You know, in a world that's just buzzing with notifications and constant chatter, we're always told that to get ahead, you've got to speak up, right? Be louder. But what if that's all wrong? What if the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all? Today, we're diving into that choice, the high-stakes game of when to speak and when to stay silent.
Think about it. We usually assume the person talking the most, the one filling every single pause in a conversation, is the one in charge. But we're going to flip that idea on its head. We're going to explore how the complete opposite can be true, and how a little bit of silence might just be your biggest secret weapon.
And look, this isn't just about, being quiet for the sake of it. We're talking about a deliberate, tactical choice. It's like a forgotten superpower in the world of communication.
Okay, so let's put a name to it. Strategic silence. And no, this is not that super awkward silence when a joke bombs. This is a conscious choice. It's an intentional, calculated pause that you use to get something done. Think of it as a tool, a tactic, and believe me, when you use it right, it works like a charm.
So how do you actually turn this from an idea into a real strategy? Let's get into the art of saying less to actually get more.
And this is not some new age idea, by the way. This goes back thousands of years. The philosopher Lao Tzu just nailed it. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. The takeaway here is huge. Talking all the time can actually make you look like you don't know what's going on, while silence can project wisdom, confidence, and control. It's like true knowledge doesn't have to shout. I mean, just think about the practical benefits. When you hold back, every word you do say suddenly has more weight. You stop yourself from saying something dumb or giving away too much information. And maybe most important of all, you're not talking, so you're actually listening, gathering the intel you really need. Let's get really practical. Picture a negotiation. Pausing forces you to truly hear what they're saying, not just line up your next zinger. And what if they throw out a completely ridiculous offer? Instead of arguing, just silence. A stunned silence communicates no way better than an argument ever could. It also gives you a second to get your own emotions in check. And here's the kicker. Most people are so deeply uncomfortable with silence, they will start talking just to fill the void. And when they do, they often give up information, or even better, a concession.
And you see this archetype everywhere, right? From quiet, powerful tech CEOs to, the Godfather. The person who sits back, listens, and says very little is often the one with the real power in the room. Their silence literally makes everyone else lean in, waiting for their approval. It's a total power move. But, and this is a huge but, that is not the whole story.
Because for all its incredible power, silence can also be incredibly dangerous. There are times when staying quiet isn't strategic at all. It's straight up catastrophic.
30%. Just look at that number. What do you think that represents? It's a big, costly mistake, I'll tell you that much.
That is the percentage of customers a bank can lose during a merger. And the reason? A total communication vacuum. When you leave customers in the dark, when you don't answer their questions and soothe their anxieties with clear info, they just leave. In this case, silence isn't a power move, it's a catastrophic business failure.
And the data on this is just undeniable. I mean, look at this. At every single stage of a merger, from the minute it's announced to 6 months later, if you communicate clearly and consistently, you keep way more customers. It's simple. When people are feeling uncertain, silence doesn't feel powerful. It feels like you're incompetent, or even worse, that you just don't care.
So if silence can be so dangerous, what's the antidote? Well, for that, let's turn to someone who is an absolute master communicator, but in the complete opposite way.
Warren Buffett. His entire philosophy is basically the opposite of strategic silence. He believes his shareholders aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're partners. They're owners. And what do owners deserve? The truth. Straight from the top, no sugarcoating.
So what we have here are two completely different playbooks. It's amazing. On one side, you withhold speech to project authority. On the other, the Buffett way, you share everything to build trust through what you might call radical clarity. One's a tactic for a short-term edge, the other is a long-term strategy for building bulletproof loyalty.
And his style is legendary for exactly these reasons. He uses simple language, no confusing corporate jargon. He is brutally honest about his successes and his failures. He actually admits when he messes up and talks about what he learned, which is almost unheard of. His goal isn't to create mystery, it's to create understanding, to make his partners smarter.
Okay, so we've got these two powerful but totally contradictory approaches, silence versus clarity. So, which one is right?
Well, the answer isn't about which one is better, it's about which one is right for the situation. It turns out, context is everything.
And the right approach always depends on who you're talking to. Let's go back to that banking study. It showed that regular customers were totally fine with getting digital updates during the merger. But the high net worth clients? They expected a personal phone call. A one-size-fits-all strategy, whether it's all silence or all talk, is just doomed to fail. You have to know your audience.
And then there's this other massive factor, culture. In a lot of Western cultures, talking is doing, speech is action. So silence can feel like you're not engaged or you don't know what's going on. But in many East Asian cultures, silence is often a sign of respect, of deep thought. The exact same pause can mean completely opposite things depending on who is in the room.
So remember that Lao Tzu quote from the beginning, "He who knows does not speak"? Now contrast that with this, from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Speech is power. Speech is to persuade, to convert, to compel. It perfectly captures that different cultural value, right? It's all about action, persuasion, force. Neither one is right or wrong, they're just different. And if you ignore that difference, you're setting yourself up for a major miscommunication.
So, what's the bottom line here? It's that there's no single magic bullet. There is no one best way. Real skill in communication comes from making a conscious choice in the moment, not just defaulting to what you're comfortable with. It's about understanding your goal, your audience, and the context. The most powerful people aren't just masters of speech or masters of silence. They are masters of both. They know which tool to pull out of the toolbox and when.
And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. The next time you walk into a big meeting, a negotiation, or even just a tough conversation, ask yourself this. In this moment, where does my power come from? Is it from what I'm about to say or what I'm choosing not to say? Because honestly, making the right choice there could change absolutely everything.